this simulation is not confined to this level that we call the human world. But there are other levels of it, which we call the spirit world. And what if, when people leave the body, if they are not at a state of awareness, what the Eastern religions would call enlightenment, to be vibrating to a frequency which comes from your perceptual state, to get out of the frequency bubble that this simulation is on all its different levels. Well, how about you just go back into the cycle and you keep recycling, not actually onto a billionth of a pinhead, but from one, although it just appears like that, but you're actually reincarnating from other levels of the simulation into this level of the simulation, and it just goes on and on and on. And what if, just as people are bewildered by what the hell this world is and what's happening, that when you leave the body, if you've not reached a certain level of awareness of what the hell's going on, which is what the book's all about, then you're bewildered in another way, and you believe, just as you believe you're here for this reason, that reason, or you're here to learn lessons or whatever you believe, outside of this, still in the simulation, you believe that you have to keep coming back here to learn lessons to get out of the cycle. And it was interesting to me that when you look at ancient cultures, cultural beliefs, they do believe in this cycler movement in and out of this reality. And there's a very old esoteric concept of what they call the ring pass knot. The ring pass knot is perceived to be a limit. You could symbolize it as the outer rim of a bubble. That if you're not in a certain vibrational state, i.e. state of awareness, which is why they relate enlightenment to getting out of here, then you can't get through the ring pass knot. Other beliefs and religious beliefs talk about the Ouroboros, which is the snake eating its own tail, which is symbolic of this limit, this ring pass knot. And so it becomes clear to me that the trap is much bigger than just the manipulation of this reality that we call the human world. Goes beyond that, well beyond that. So you come into this world to learn lessons, but what happens? You suffer from emotional and mental traumas and challenges. It pulls you into depression, into anxiety, into fear, the four-letter word that controls the world and if actually controls the simulation in all its forms. And you leave the body overwhelmingly in a low vibrational state, so you don't get out of here. The idea is that you keep control of perception, i.e. frequency, to the point where no one gets out of here. And you know, there are traps everywhere. Like there's the trap of, yeah, it's about reincarnation and learning lessons. It's a freaking trap. It's not about learning lessons. We don't have to learn lessons. We are all that is, has been, and ever can be. We don't have to learn lessons to stop incarnating on a billionth of a pinhead or into this level of the simulation, whichever you choose to symbolize it as. we can reach our own state of enlightenment just by the realization of who we are. And if you look at when you come into this reality, the human world, what are they telling you from cradle to grave to self-identify yourself with? The body and the labels of a human life. They're saying you are a man, you are a woman, you are something in between, you are this sexuality, you are that race, you are this religion, you are that income bracket. All these labels, that's who you are. And if you perceive yourself in those incredibly limited terms, because they're not who we are, they are experiences that who we are, consciousness is briefly having in a human life. But if you self-identify with those labels, you're self-identifying with limitation. When you self-identify with limitation, your sense of limitation becomes expressed vibrationally in a low vibrational state. Which means when you leave this reality, this human reality, you're in a vibrational state that stays in the cycle, round and round and round it goes. And, you know, the other part of the trap is, where did the simulation come from? And I've been writing about this for quite a while. As Rich Terrell at NASA said, if this simulation, which he believes it is, who the hell created it? And this brings us to that question I posed earlier. Why can't we see that which is manipulating us in a non-human form, as I say it is? Well, because we can only see this tiny narrow band of frequency called visible light, and the force that is manipulating human society, controlling the simulation, actually created the simulation to enslave us by enslaving our perception. It's what the simulation is, enslavement of perception, is operating outside the band of frequency that we can see. And if we call this reality the third dimension, keep it simple, and a higher or another level of frequency high enough for us not to be able to see it, the fourth dimension is what spiritual people call the astral dimension or the astral plane. When people talk about astral traveling, it's actually traveling with the mind, because the fourth dimension, the astral dimension, is the dimension of mind. And it's from there that this reality is manipulated, controlled, and orchestrated from.